The Deathworlders weren't wanted, but they came anyway. The station on Violia was alive with noise. Ships of all shapes and sizes drifted through the docks, each one carrying cargo, travelers, or secrets from distant worlds. Hovercraft zipped through the air above the crowded streets, their engines humming like a swarm of insects. Traders shouted in dozens of alien languages, trying to make themselves heard over the clamor. Merchants waved holographic signs, advertising goods that could barely be imagined on any one world. Among the crowd, a few whispered rumors stirred faster than the trading winds. The Deathworlders were coming. Stories about them had spread for decades, growing wilder each time they were told. They came from a planet said to be impossible to live on. Legends said they could survive radiation storms, poisonous atmospheres, and predators that could devour entire alien species in minutes. They were called humans, but most of the station's inhabitants didn't want to meet them. "Did you hear?" hissed a green-skinned trader, leaning toward a silver-scaled merchant. "They say a single human could fight 10 of our best soldiers and still not break a sweat." The silver-scaled merchant shivered. "I've heard worse. They can adapt to any danger. Nothing can stop them." "Then why are they coming here?" the green trader whispered. "We don't want them. The council said so." Across the station, a small human ship appeared on the sensors. Its hull was scratched and worn, evidence of long journeys through space. It was nothing like the sleek ships most aliens used, but it was steady and strong, as if it had survived countless storms and battles. Inside, a crew of humans worked quietly, unaware of the attention they had drawn. Captain Marcus Kane, the leader of the human crew, stood at the command console studying the docking protocols. He was average in height, with short brown hair and a calm, steady gaze. Around him, the crew moved efficiently, checking equipment and running final systems checks. There was no prideful arrogance in their movements, just focus and preparation. Lieutenant Myra Lee, the ship's engineer, tapped at a control panel. "Docking clamps are aligned, Captain." "We should be stable in 3 minutes." Marcus nodded. "Good, let's make this simple. We don't want trouble, but we need to get our message delivered." Their message was simple. They had come to explore, to trade knowledge, and to warn the galaxy of dangers they had seen on the edge of known space. Nothing more, nothing less. As the ship's landing legs touched the station's platform, alarms began to ring, not inside the human ship, but throughout the alien stations. The aliens panicked at the sight of humans stepping onto their world. Some ran, others armed themselves, and some simply froze, unsure of what to do. A group of alien soldiers approached the landing site. They were tall, armored in silver plates, their weapons glowing faintly in anticipation. One of them, Commander Verk, stepped forward and addressed the human crew through a translator. "Identify yourselves." Verk's voice was harsh, echoing across the docking platform. "The Council does not permit your species here. You are unwanted." Marcus stepped forward, his hands raised in a calm gesture. "We mean no harm. We come only to speak and help where we can. Our message is peaceful." Verk narrowed his eyes. "Peaceful or not, you come from a death world. We do not welcome you. Leave now or face the consequences." Marcus glanced at his crew. Myra, the engineer, and Dax, the scout, looked ready but calm. Marcus smiled faintly. "We came a long way to arrive here. We cannot leave without being heard. Please let us meet your council." "Let us explain ourselves." For a long moment, Verk hesitated. He studied Marcus closely, as if trying to find the deception he expected but could not see. Finally, he waved his hand. "Follow me, but know this, you are being watched. Any sudden movement and we will act." The humans followed quietly, walking past crowds of aliens who stared, whispered, and in some cases tried to keep a safe distance. Some children peeked from behind their parents, curious and unafraid. They had never seen humans before, but even at a young age they sensed something unusual. Humans seemed ordinary, yet somehow different, alive in a way that made the air around them feel charged. Inside the council chambers, the air was cool and formal. Alien leaders from many species sat in circular seats, their eyes fixed on the humans. Holographic screens displayed maps of the sector, ships in orbit, and colonies across dozens of planets. Marcus stepped forward. "I am Captain Marcus Kane of the exploration ship Resolute," he began, his voice steady. "These are my crew, Lieutenant Myra Lee, engineer, and Scout Daxor. We come to speak, to learn, and to warn. Our message is simple. The galaxy is facing dangers we cannot face alone. Cooperation is essential." A deep, chittering voice spoke from the council. And why should we trust you? Marcus looked at the speaker, a tall insectoid being with segmented limbs and compound eyes. Because we have no interest in conquering, only in surviving and in helping others survive. We have traveled far, seen much, and learned quickly. We know how to adapt. That is why you see us as dangerous, but danger is only a threat if you do not understand it. A murmur ran through the council. Some aliens leaned forward, curious despite their fear. Others hissed softly, warning each other to remain cautious. Verk, standing at the edge of the room, scowled. He had expected arrogance and threats, not calm reasoning. Explain this danger, a reptilian counselor demanded. Do not speak in riddles. Tell us why your presence is not a threat, or leave. Marcus nodded. We understand. There are fleets moving through the sector that seek to conquer and destroy. They are unlike anything you have faced before. They strike fast with weapons and technology designed to overwhelm. Alone, your species may not survive. Together, with humans included, you have a chance. The council fell silent. For a moment, no one spoke. The room seemed to shrink under the weight of what Marcus had said. The stories about humans, strong, adaptable, unstoppable, suddenly seemed more than myth. Humans can survive anywhere, a small, blue-skinned alien whispered to a neighbor. Do you think they could really stop an invading fleet? I do not know, the neighbor replied, but if what they say is true, we may have no choice but to listen. Verk's voice cut through the murmurs. We do not negotiate with monsters, he said, his tone firm. We do not need their help. We are capable of defending ourselves. Marcus tilted his head slightly. Perhaps, but sometimes strength alone is not enough. Strategy, creativity, and teamwork are what win battles. We can provide those. The council deliberated for hours. Outside, the humans waited quietly. They spoke little, but their presence alone began to calm some onlookers. Children approached cautiously, and a few daring merchants offered food, curious about the newcomers. Marcus and his crew smiled politely but remained focused. They knew the aliens' fear was natural. Humans were unpredictable, and that was exactly the point. As the sun of Violia dipped below the horizon, painting the station in shades of gold and red, a decision was made. The council agreed to allow humans to remain temporarily, to explain themselves further and prove their intentions. But they would be closely monitored, and any sign of aggression would lead to immediate expulsion, or worse. Marcus accepted the decision with quiet gratitude. Thank you, he said. We will prove that we are not here to harm, only to help. That night, the humans explored the station under strict supervision. They saw streets lined with glowing plants, water canals filled with strange bioluminescent creatures, and shops selling gadgets and goods that defied imagination. Everywhere they went, aliens stared, whispered, and sometimes hid. The humans treated everyone with respect, bowing slightly, offering smiles, and helping where they could. Myra repaired a broken hovercar engine for a small family of aliens, her hands moving quickly and skillfully. The family's eyes widened in astonishment as the machine roared to life. Scout Dax saved a group of children from falling debris when a transport ship above lost control. The aliens gasped at the humans' speed and precision, unable to understand how one person could react so quickly. Even Verk, who had been the most hostile, felt a grudging respect building. Humans were not monsters. They were different, yes, but their courage and skill were undeniable. As the night deepened, the humans returned to their ship. Marcus looked out at the glowing city below, thinking of the challenges to come. The council had given them a chance, but one wrong move could change everything. Still, he felt a quiet confidence. Humans had faced impossible odds before. They would do so again. Outside the station, the stars gleamed cold and distant. Somewhere beyond, threats waited, moving silently through space. The galaxy did not yet know that the Deathworlders had arrived, and that they were about to change everything. And for the first time, the people of Violia wondered if the legends they had feared for decades might actually be true, but perhaps not in the way they expected. The Deathworlders were here. They were unstoppable. And whether the galaxy wanted them or not, they had come. The next morning, the station on Violia buzzed with unusual energy. News of the humans' arrival had spread quickly. Everywhere, aliens whispered, pointed, and speculated. Some were curious, some cautious, and some openly hostile. But one thing was certain, everyone was watching. Captain Marcus Kane and his crew began their day with calm purpose. They did not seek attention, but their presence naturally drew it. The humans moved through the station with quiet confidence, observing their surroundings, noting weaknesses, and when they could, helping. Lieutenant Myra Lee noticed a malfunctioning power grid in one of the station's main sectors. Sparks flew from the junction points and alien workers scrambled to repair it. Myra approached with a friendly smile. "May I help?" she asked, her tone polite. The aliens hesitated, wary of the humans' offer. One of the engineers shook his head, muttering, "We do not need help from them." Myra knelt, her hands glowing faintly as she applied a compact tool that emitted controlled energy pulses. Within minutes, the grid hummed smoothly, and the sparks vanished. The alien engineers stared in astonishment. One finally spoke, his voice trembling with surprise. How did you do that?" Myra smiled. "Just a different way of thinking." Word of the human's skill spread quickly. By midday, a small crowd had gathered. Some were still suspicious, but others began to show quiet admiration. A blue-skinned merchant whispered to his neighbor, "They are fast, clever, and precise. I did not expect this." Meanwhile, Scout Dax Orr had been exploring the station's training grounds. Alien cadets were practicing combat simulations, their holographic weapons flashing and whirling. Dax stood at the edge of the field, observing. A cadet, noticing him, challenged, "Do you fight human?" Dax shrugged. "If necessary." The cadet laughed. "Then show us or go home." Without a word, Dax stepped onto the training field. His movements were careful, but his reactions were fast, almost instinctive. When the cadets attacked, he dodged, parried, and countered in ways they had not anticipated. He used his environment, walls, railings, and holographic obstacles, to his advantage, moving fluidly and efficiently. By the end of the simulation, the cadets were exhausted, some on the floor, gasping for breath. Dax stood unscathed. The instructors, initially skeptical, nodded with respect. "He is unusual," one muttered, "not dangerous in a simple way, but different." Dax glanced at the instructors. "I'm not here to fight unless I must, but thinking differently helps you survive." Across the station, Marcus met with a few alien counselors who were beginning to see a new perspective. A reptilian diplomat, once hostile, admitted quietly, "Perhaps we judged too quickly. Humans are strange but effective." Marcus smiled. "We can only prove ourselves through action. Words alone do not earn trust." It was during the mid-afternoon that the first real test of their abilities came. A transport shuttle, carrying medical supplies, malfunctioned in the upper docking bay. It began to drift uncontrollably toward the station's edge. Alarms blared and panicked workers scrambled to safety. Myra and Dax were closest. Without hesitation, Myra ran toward the malfunctioning shuttle, analyzing the control systems as she moved. Dax followed, scanning the surroundings for hazards. "Hold steady," Myra muttered, connecting her portable interface to the shuttle's console. Sparks flew, alarms blared, but she worked with calm precision, rerouting power and stabilizing the thrusters. Dax grabbed a falling cargo container and used it as a makeshift brace to prevent collision damage. The shuttle slowly steadied and hovered safely above the docking platform. The crowd erupted in astonishment. Aliens who had doubted humans now whispered among themselves, their fear slowly turning into awe. One alien commander approached, his armored frame imposing. "That was remarkable. I did not think it could be done." Marcus shrugged lightly. "It is not about strength or luck. It is about observation, quick thinking, and cooperation. Humans survive by working together." By evening, the humans had earned tentative respect. Children dared to approach, mimicking Dax's quick movements and marveling at Myra's clever tools. Merchants and engineers observed carefully, learning new methods from the humans' actions. Yet not all were pleased. Commander Verk remained distant, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. He whispered to an advisor, "They are clever, yes, but clever is dangerous. We cannot trust them fully." That night, the humans gathered on the ship's observation deck, looking at the city below. The station's lights glimmered like stars fallen to the ground, but beneath the beauty lay tension. "They are watching us closely," Dax said. "Some want to test us further, some are afraid of what we can do." Myra leaned on the railing. "We knew this would happen. They have heard the legends about humans. Their fear is natural." Marcus nodded. "Yes, and that fear will not vanish quickly. But we are here to show that we are more than legends. We are here to prove that humans can be allies, not threats." A commotion in the streets below caught their attention. A group of young aliens had tried to steal supplies from a vendor. They panicked when the vendor shouted and a crowd began to gather. Marcus motioned to Dax. Go! Dax moved like a shadow, approaching the thieves calmly. Using precise, non-lethal moves, he separated the children from the goods and returned the stolen items. The children stared at him wide-eyed. Why did you help us? One asked. Because it is the right thing, Dax said simply. Not because of fear, not because of reward, because it is right. The crowd, which had initially been angry, now watched silently. Even Verk, standing at a distance, could not hide his observation. As the night deepened, counselors called for a private meeting with the humans. It was unusual. Most aliens would not meet with humans without armed guards. This time, the council wanted to hear more about the humans' skills, their culture, and their intentions. Inside the council chamber, Marcus began to speak. We are not invincible, he said. We have limits just like anyone else. But we survive because we adapt, learn quickly, and work as a team. That is what sets humans apart. It is not just strength, it is flexibility, creativity, and cooperation. A young reptilian diplomat raised a question. And what if your presence brings war to us? Some believe humans attract danger. Marcus shook his head. We do not seek war, but danger exists in the galaxy with or without humans. We can either ignore it and hope we survive or face it together. Alone, some species may fall. Together, we have a chance. The council remained silent for a long time. Some debated among themselves in whispers. The humans' words were calm, without arrogance, but their logic was undeniable. Slowly, the fear that had dominated the council began to shift into curiosity. By the end of the night, the humans were invited to join the station's defense exercises, not as participants yet, but as observers and advisors. It was a small step, but it was progress. Back on their ship, Marcus addressed his crew. Tomorrow, we show them more. We do not fight unless necessary, but we do not hide either. Every skill we demonstrate, every problem we solve earns their trust, and trust is stronger than fear. Myra nodded. It will not be easy, many still doubt us. Dax smiled faintly. They will learn humans survive. That is what we do. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly above the station. Somewhere in the distance, unknown fleets moved through the void, unaware that humans had arrived. But on Violia, a small group of aliens had begun to see a new truth. Humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of facing challenges no one else could. As dawn approached, Marcus looked out at the city one last time before sleeping. We came to help, he whispered. And if they will let us, we will, not because we must, but because we can. The humans slept lightly, prepared for whatever trials the next day would bring. Unseen by them, some alien observers continued to watch, debating whether these newcomers were saviors, monsters, or something in between. And somewhere beyond the station, shadows of distant threats moved silently. The humans did not yet know what dangers awaited. But one thing was clear to everyone who had seen their actions. The Deathworlders were not ordinary beings. They were survivors. They were clever. They were coming to change everything, whether the galaxy wanted them to or not. The calm of the station on Violia did not last long. By morning, a new tension hung in the air. Scouts reported unusual activity in the outer sectors, fleets moving with speed and precision, too large and organized to be normal traders or explorers. Alien commanders whispered nervously, and council members argued in closed rooms. Some feared an attack. Others wanted to prepare, but no one knew how. Captain Marcus Kane and his crew were already aware of the reports. They studied the data carefully, comparing it with the intelligence they had gathered from distant systems. These fleets are not here to trade, Marcus said quietly, addressing Myra and Dax. They are moving like a wave, fast and coordinated. If they reach the inhabited systems, many worlds could fall. Myra frowned. Do you think the Council will listen to us? They still doubt humans. They will have to, Marcus replied. Actions speak louder than words. We need to show them that cooperation works better than fear. The first sign of danger arrived as a massive fleet entered the outer sector. From the station's observation decks, the ships appeared like dark stars against the void. They moved silently, but their numbers were immense. Hundreds of warships, each bristling with weapons designed to overwhelm and destroy. The aliens gasped in shock, realizing the scale of the threat. Commander Verk, who had remained cautious of humans, now stood rigid with concern. This is far beyond anything we expected, he said to his officers. Our defenses are inadequate. We may not survive. Marcus stepped forward. Then we must act differently. Strength alone will not win. Strategy, teamwork, and creativity will. The council reluctantly agreed to allow the humans to help plan the defense. Alien factions still argued, some insisting that humans could not be trusted. But Marcus, Myra, and Dax moved quickly, analyzing the incoming fleet and identifying potential weaknesses. Dax pointed at a holographic display. They are fast, yes, but rigid. They follow predictable paths and they are overconfident. That gives us an advantage if we coordinate well. Myra added, their weapons are powerful, but many rely on energy fields. If we disrupt the fields, even temporarily, we can slow them down. The council listened, skeptical at first. Some alien leaders whispered doubts. How can humans know this? One asked. They are outsiders, Marcus replied calmly. We have seen similar fleets in distant sectors. We study patterns, adapt, and find solutions. That is what humans do. Preparation began immediately. Humans and alien engineers worked side by side, designing defensive measures and coordinating planetary shields. Humans taught aliens new ways to fortify their cities, reroute power for rapid repairs, and use terrain strategically. Still, not all aliens were willing to cooperate. Some commanders resisted human guidance, claiming, "We do not need outsiders to tell us how to fight." These factions delayed preparations, causing tension within the station. Marcus knew that in the coming battles, patience would be tested as much as skill. 2 days later, the threat became clear. Scout ships detected a sudden strike on a nearby colony. Explosions lit the sky, and distress signals filled communication channels. The attacking fleet had begun its assault. Panic spread among the civilian population. Marcus gathered his crew. We need to respond immediately. Dax, lead the evacuation teams. Myra, coordinate with the engineers to stabilize critical systems. I'll meet with the council to ensure our strategy is applied across the stations. Dax nodded. Understood, let's move. The humans moved with precision. Dax organized alien volunteers, guiding them through evacuation routes, stabilizing shuttles, and rescuing civilians from falling debris. His speed and decisiveness saved dozens of lives. Myra focused on maintaining power grids, redirecting energy to shields, and repairing damaged docking bays. Marcus coordinated strategy from the command center, directing resources, issuing instructions, and keeping the council informed. Some alien factions still refused to follow human advice, insisting on their own methods. The humans adapted, finding ways to work around these obstacles without direct confrontation. We cannot force cooperation, Marcus said. We can only demonstrate results. As the day progressed, the attacking fleet advanced closer. Their ships unleashed devastating energy blasts, targeting civilian infrastructure and military defenses alike. For the first time, many aliens realized that their species alone might not withstand such an assault. A young blue-skinned officer approached Marcus. "Captain, we are losing ground. If we continue like this, the colony will fall." Marcus studied the holographic display. "Then we change the rules of the fight. Let them expect one thing, we give them something entirely different. Humans survive because we adapt. Now we need everyone to adapt with us." He quickly devised a new plan. Using a combination of planetary shields, decoys, and rapid response teams, humans and willing alien forces began to slow the fleet. They targeted supply lines, disrupted communications, and used the terrain to their advantage. Ships that seemed unstoppable were forced to retreat or maneuver unpredictably. Dax led daring missions against enemy ships, boarding smaller vessels to sabotage engines and weapons. Myra applied her technical skills to create temporary energy pulses that disabled enemy shields, giving alien fighters openings they had never seen before. Each success inspired confidence among the previously doubtful council members. Despite these victories, the cost was evident. Structures were damaged and casualties mounted. Panic continued to ripple through civilians, and the station's resources were stretched to the limit. Some alien commanders still argued against following human guidance. Marcus recognized that the real battle was not only with the enemy fleet, but with fear, doubt, and prejudice. That night, Marcus and his crew returned to their ship to rest, though sleep was short and light. Myra examined repair logs and adjusted shield configurations while Dax reviewed tactical outcomes, noting patterns in enemy movements. Marcus looked out at the city, glowing under the stress of the ongoing assault. "We are making progress," Marcus said quietly. But tomorrow will be harder. They will adapt just as we have. We need to stay ahead. Myra nodded. They underestimate us. That is their mistake, Dax added, and their mistake will cost them. Meanwhile, the Alien Council met in secret. Some members had begun to see the value of humans. They think differently, admitted a reptilian diplomat. They do not follow the same rules as we do. That is why they are surviving where we struggle. Another counselor, however, remained skeptical. They are clever, yes. But can we truly trust them? What if their presence brings worse danger? Verk, silent until now, spoke finally. Perhaps, but I have seen what humans can do. If we reject them now, we may lose everything. I will support their plans reluctantly, but we must remain cautious. The next morning, the humans returned to the field. A new wave of enemy ships approached, faster and larger than before. Civilians were evacuated, defenses prepared, and the council watched anxiously. Marcus took command. Listen carefully, he said to alien commanders. We fight differently. We do not rely on brute force alone. Use what you have, trust your allies, and adapt. Humans will show you the way, but you must act with courage. The battle began. Enemy ships struck first, targeting the station's outer defenses. Humans and aliens responded together, using traps, decoys, and rapid movements. The humans moved like shadows, striking at critical points, saving allies and exploiting weaknesses in the fleet's formation. Myra coordinated energy pulses to disable weapons temporarily, while Dax led teams to sabotage engines and shields. Marcus issued commands from the station, ensuring coordination between distant units. Even alien factions that had doubted humans began to follow orders, seeing results in real time. The tide of battle slowly shifted. Enemy ships, which had seemed unstoppable, now struggled to maintain formations. The station's defenses, strengthened and coordinated by humans, held firm. Civilians were safe, and alien fighters gained confidence they had never experienced. By the end of the day, the enemy retreated. Damage had been significant, but the colony survived. For the first time, many aliens realized that humans were not just survivors. They were leaders, strategists, and problem solvers. In the aftermath, Marcus addressed the council. Today, we faced danger together. Alone, many of your species would have fallen. Together, we survived. Humans do not seek to dominate, we seek to protect and adapt. That is what makes us strong. Counselors nodded, some with newfound respect, others with lingering doubt. Verk, standing at the edge, did not speak, but his expression softened slightly. He had seen enough to know that humans could not be ignored. That night, as the humans returned to their quarters, Myra looked at Marcus. Do you think they will ever fully trust us? Marcus smiled faintly. Trust is earned in small steps. Today, we earned a few. Tomorrow, we earn a few more. Dax, checking his gear, added, and one day they will see what humans can do when the galaxy depends on them. Outside the station, stars glittered cold and distant. Somewhere beyond, the enemy fleet regrouped, preparing for another strike. But for the first time, they would face resistance that was unpredictable, clever, and coordinated. The Deathworlders were no longer just myths or legends. They were real, capable, and here to fight alongside those who would survive. And whether the galaxy wanted them or not, humans were ready to face any threat. The station on Violia was quiet for a moment, but only the calm before the storm. The real battles had only begun. And with humans leading in ways no alien could anticipate, the galaxy would soon learn that the Deathworlders were a force unlike any other. The galaxy was no longer quiet. After the first attacks, the enemy fleet had regrouped, repairing damaged ships and plotting their next move. Violia and its surrounding systems were on high alert. Citizens worked tirelessly, fortifying defenses, evacuating vulnerable populations, and preparing for another strike. Captain Marcus Kane stood in the station's command center, his eyes scanning the incoming fleet on holographic displays. The human crew was beside him, calm but ready. Myra Lee adjusted the station's energy grids, ensuring shields were reinforced. Dax studied the enemy ship's patterns, searching for weaknesses. They are organized, Marcus said, but rigid. That is still our advantage. We need to strike where they least expect it. Verk, still cautious but learning to respect the humans, approached. Your strategies, they are unconventional. I do not know if all of my officers will follow them. Marcus nodded. Then we show results. Action convinces better than words. The humans devised a plan that required both courage and precision. It was risky, but the alternative, waiting and letting the fleet attack unchecked, would be worse. At dawn, the first wave of human-led operations began. Dax led small teams aboard enemy vessels, boarding with precision. They used grappling hooks and magnetic boots to cling to the hulls. Inside, Dax and his team moved like shadows, disabling engines and sabotaging weapons. Each ship they struck slowed, its attacks weakened, and confusion spread through the fleet. Meanwhile, Myra worked in the station's engineering bays, coordinating energy pulses and shield disruptions. Her quick calculations allowed alien fighters to maneuver safely through enemy fire. When one of the enemy's massive energy cannons locked onto a civilian transport, Myra rerouted power to create a temporary energy shield, protecting dozens of lives in the blink of an eye. Back in the skies above Violia, Marcus led the station's defense fleet. His tactics were unlike anything the alien commanders had seen. Instead of direct confrontations, he used feints, decoys, and rapid maneuvers. Enemy ships expecting frontal assaults were met with sudden flank attacks, while hidden human-led teams sabotaged critical targets. Alien pilots, once skeptical of humans, now followed Marcus' commands without hesitation. They marveled at the efficiency, coordination, and daring of the human-led strategy. Even Verk, who had resisted working with humans from the start, could not hide his growing admiration. This is impossible," Verk muttered. "No one could coordinate like this." Marcus responded quietly. "We do not see the impossible. We see what must be done, and we do it." In one daring maneuver, Dax and his boarding team infiltrated a massive enemy flagship. The ship's interior was a maze of corridors, traps, and armed guards. Yet the humans moved silently, disabling security systems and planting energy disruptors. Each action caused chaos aboard the flagship, slowing its movements and throwing the fleet into disarray. Meanwhile, on the planet below, civilians watched from safe zones. Sparks flew in the sky as smaller skirmishes occurred, and alien fighters cheered as their allies returned safely from human-led missions. Slowly, fear began to turn into hope. The humans were showing that even the deadliest threats could be challenged. Despite the victories, danger was never far. During a rescue operation, Myra noticed an incoming energy blast heading toward a group of civilians trapped near a damaged dock. She calculated the trajectory quickly and sent a rapid response team, including Dax, to redirect the energy. With seconds to spare, the civilians were pulled to safety, while the energy blast struck an empty area, causing minimal damage. The Council, watching from their secure chamber, could hardly believe what they saw. Aliens who had doubted humans were now witnessing courage, intelligence, and skill that seemed beyond ordinary comprehension. A young reptilian counselor whispered to his neighbor, "I was wrong. Humans, they are not monsters, they are heroes." But not all aliens were convinced. Some factions remained skeptical, fearful of humans' unpredictable nature. They argued that humans' methods were too risky, that one misstep could destroy entire fleets. Marcus understood their fear. He had faced it himself before on his own world when humans were underestimated and feared for what they could survive. "Risk exists in every decision," Marcus explained to Verk privately, "but doing nothing guarantees failure. We survive because we take calculated risks and adapt when the unexpected happens." The second day of battle brought even greater challenges. Enemy reinforcements arrived, larger than before, and the station's resources were strained. Marcus coordinated multiple operations simultaneously. Dax led boarding teams to disable power cores, Myra managed shield grids and energy diversions, and Marcus guided alien fleets in unpredictable maneuvers. At one point, a massive enemy cruiser attempted to breach the station's outer defenses. Alien pilots panicked, unsure how to respond. Marcus quickly devised a plan, directing smaller ships to draw the cruiser into a trap while human-led teams targeted its engines. The plan worked perfectly. The cruiser was immobilized and alien forces surrounded it, forcing a surrender. The victory was celebrated across the station. Civilians cheered, soldiers saluted, and council members clapped cautiously. Humans had led the effort, yet they remained humble. Marcus reminded everyone that the fight was not over. "Do not celebrate yet," he said. "This is only a temporary victory. The enemy will adapt. We must remain vigilant." That night, the humans rested briefly. Myra checked systems one last time, ensuring that all shields were reinforced and repair teams were ready. Dax reviewed enemy movements, searching for patterns to anticipate the next strike. Marcus looked out at the station, glowing under emergency lights, thinking about what had been accomplished and what lay ahead. "Tomorrow will be harder," Marcus said quietly. "But we have proven one thing: humans do not give up. We adapt, we survive, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves." Dax nodded. "They are beginning to trust us. The aliens who doubted us now see what humans can do," Myra added, "and that trust will grow as long as we act with courage and skill." Indeed, trust was growing. Alien fighters who had once mocked humans now followed their strategies, learning quickly from their example. Engineers adopted new techniques taught by Myra, improving defenses that had seemed impossible before. Even the children of Violia watched from the safe zones, inspired by the humans' bravery and ingenuity. Yet the enemy fleet was not idle. From deep space, reinforcements continued to approach. Their commanders studied the humans' tactics carefully, trying to anticipate moves that were unpredictable. For the first time, the enemy feared humans, realizing that their legends of unstoppable Deathworlders were true, but in ways they had not expected. During one of the most dangerous missions, Dax led a small team to disable a massive orbital weapon. The ship was heavily guarded, with energy shields and automated defenses. Moving silently, Dax and his team infiltrated the vessel, navigating traps and security systems. They worked with precision, disabling shields, cutting power, and planting energy disruptors. When the weapon finally went offline, the enemy fleet faltered, unsure how to respond. Back on the station, Myra coordinated emergency repairs while Marcus directed fleets in the skies. Alien commanders, now fully reliant on human guidance, followed orders without hesitation. Even Verk, once skeptical and hostile, began to see the full potential of the humans' methods. "This is extraordinary," Verk admitted quietly to Marcus. "I never imagined humans could lead so effectively," Marcus smiled faintly. "We survive because we adapt, because we think differently, and because we work together. That is what makes us strong." By the end of the day, the humans and their alien allies had forced the enemy fleet to retreat once more. The station had suffered damage, but the loss of life was minimal compared to what could have happened. Citizens cheered, soldiers saluted, and council members acknowledged the humans' leadership. In a quiet moment, Marcus gathered his crew. "We have done well," he said, "but we must remember this is not over. The enemy will return, and we must be ready. Every skill we demonstrate, every life we save builds trust, and trust will carry us through what is coming next." Myra nodded. "We've shown them humans are not monsters but helpers. That is just as important as winning battles." Dax added, "They see what humans can do when they cannot rely on anyone else. That is why we survive. That is why they will follow us." Outside the station, stars glittered cold and distant. Somewhere beyond, the enemy fleet regrouped, their commanders frustrated by their losses and the unpredictable nature of the Deathworlders. The galaxy had witnessed humans, skill, courage, and ingenuity, and the legends were no longer myths, they were reality. For the first time, the Alien Council saw humans not as threats, not as monsters from a deadly planet, but as essential allies, capable of turning the tide of battles no one else could manage. And the Deathworlders, once unwanted and feared, had proven themselves as protectors, strategists, and leaders. The night ended quietly on Violia, but only the calm before the next challenge. Humans had changed the perception of what was possible. The enemy fleet would not forget this day, and neither would the galaxy. The Deathworlders had arrived. They had fought, they had adapted, and they had shown the galaxy that when humans are involved, survival is not just a possibility, it is a certainty.